Hello, Interloper here. Today I'm going to show you an alternative to Rage of Bahamut called Blood Brothers. If you're very much against Mobage after the whole Rage of Bahamut fiasco, you might want to skip this one because it's also underneath the Mobage network, but from personal experience, this is a game that is not to be missed. It's a lot of fun. Personally, I think that it's a lot more fair and a lot less pay-to-win oriented, and it's just in general a good game. So today I'm going to show you some footage, teach you a little bit about the game, tell you how to start out the game right, and some things to look out for as you're playing the game. Now, Rage of Bahamut, as you know, is a game where you collect different cards. Now, in this game, you collect familiars, which are kind of similar. They're characters that you can evolve and train, and except you can level them up through actually fighting. The game is different than Rage of Bahamut as well because rather than just clicking a button to quest, you actually move through a game map. As you can see in this short little video, you get to move around, you pick up gold and stuff. You can determine your place on the map. I'm going to bring up the map in a second. There we go. And see whether they're items or enemies. You get to pick up some items. You get to pick up treasure chests that you can open at the end. And every time you move, you use up a bit of energy. Oh no, out of energy. So let me first explain a few things on the screen. This would be my setup. So first of all, this is my warlord. When you start the game, you choose a warlord, and this will be kind of like your main character, your game piece around the board. And your warlord tends to be extremely powerful, and every time that your warlord levels up, you regain your energy and your morale. Now, what you need to know about energy and morale is energy basically translates to one step on the game board. And morale allows you to participate in PvP or random events. It's usually a new event every single week. So it's very worth participating in, seeing that some events will be able to net you some rare limited edition familiars that can even be useful up into the very high ranks of the game. As in, you know, later once you're leveled up and an actual better player, those will still be useful to you. As you can see here, yes, this is my setup here. These are my familiars that I'm using in battle at the moment. You can switch out your warlord if you're close to leveling up, so you can finish up using your energy. And you can check the map. You can battle if you actually run into a monster. I mean, what am I saying? If you run into a PvP event, you randomly run into PvP situations around the board. And event, if there is an event, there is no event at the moment. And I'm sorry that this thing is blocking the way. I don't really know how to get rid of it. Then you can choose the menu. You can withdraw from the map, which means that you can't open up these special chests that you can pick up along the way. These are ones that you can only open once you get to the end. Let me quickly go to another video here and can show you some more. So let me show you what a normal battle is like. This is a very basic battle. So there we go. Obviously I can beat these guys pretty easily, and as you go through the game there are a lot of different items that you can pick up. I paused the video for now to explain some of them. You can get items that fully restore your energy, that restore your morale points either fully or one by one. There are some items that allow you to revive a fallen familiar, heal a fallen familiar on the game board, and various other things. Now, there's also an item called Heart's Blood, and one called Blood Meal. And, well, I'll show that later. But it allows you to capture enemies that you find on the game board. And as you can see, I have the choice to catch it. I don't have any Heart's Blood, which is pretty much 100% chance. Blood Meal is kind of a luck sort of thing, and you can capture it and add it to your team. Most of the things on the game board aren't really that strong, but when starting out, this is pretty good, and you can use these later to skill up your other familiars. Now that's kind of a little bit more advanced, but let me just quickly show you something important. Let's quickly go through here, and my warlord is going to level up, and I can show you the basic statistics of a warlord or any familiar. So the different aspects of a familiar that gauge how powerful they are. There's HP, hit points, attack, defense, wisdom, and agility. Attack and defense are pretty self-explanatory. Wisdom determines the damage of certain abilities, especially magic abilities. The Grey Mage, which is the warlord I chose for this account, has very high wisdom and has a magic skill. Now, agility determines who goes first in the battle. As you can see, almost all my guys went first. We're able to completely decimate the enemy team. Certain familiars have either high agility, low agility, or so forth. Growth shows at what rate your familiar gains stats. Now, the warlord, it's kind of all over the place. But usually it's normal, which means that with every level you'll gain about the same stats. Fast, which early on gains a lot of stats, and as it gets to higher levels slows down. And then late bloomer, which is the opposite. Then there's worth, how much money or gold that you'll get if you dismiss it. You can't dismiss your warlord. And then, of course, the most important part, the skill. Every warlord has a different skill. I'm going to explain some of those later. But basically, this is your familiar statistics, and you can check any familiar through the brigade. And yeah, let me fast forward through some of this. You can see here, my Drake is a late bloomer and worth this much. And there are different abilities. There are abilities that trigger during battle, and then there's some before the battle. This is a before battle skill. Raises agility of self and adjacent familiars. Adjacent meaning ones that are next to you. There's many different skills. So some of these might say rage agility of self and all familiars. That means every single familiar that is on your board. So right now it would only affect this one and this one because it's an adjacent familiar. This is not an adjacent familiar, but some do all. There's many different skills involved. Some of them are better than others. And yeah, that's basically a good overview. Now, on the other hand, when starting out, you have to choose a warlord. And your warlord is your main character. And not only is it your main character, but every time you level up your warlord, you regain your energy and your morale. So sometimes it's good to put your warlord in reserve when you have a lot of energy left, so you don't waste the level up, so to speak. But either way, your warlord is your most important character and will most likely be your most powerful character up until a certain point. So let me tell you a little bit about each warlord. So when starting the game, you don't mess up, because you cannot switch your warlord later on. On my main account, the footage I just showed you was from my iPod, so it's a little example account. This is the one I chose, the Golden Lance. He is a lizard man, and he has very high agility, and he has the ability, if I go over here, Scythe Storm. And what Scythe Storm does is deals heavy agility-based damage to all foes. So that means if I had somebody in my party that rages this agility of all familiars, this skill's damage would go up because it's solely agi-based. It's a very devastating attack because it affects all foes, and most recently has been boosted in strength. So Golden Lance is definitely a good choice. Then there's the Black Brute. He's an ape man, as you can see, wearing the skins of his enemies. And he has very high attack and has the ability Massive Assault. And Massive Assault deals massive damage to one foe. The good thing about this ability is it's pretty much a one-hit knockout every time it hits. So skills don't hit all the time. They have percentages that can be raised by sacrificing certain familiars. And although it's not every single time that this skill goes off, it's definitely a good skill to have because you can potentially knock out a very tough enemy in one hit. The White Knight, he's a human, and he has very high attack and defense. He used to have a skill called Joint Strike, but now he has Triple Strike, which allows him to attack in tandem with adjacent familiars. That means both familiars to the left and the right of him will attack as well as him. And they'll all attack one foe. It's pretty good, but you have to make sure that the familiars on the left and right of him are actually strong. Otherwise, you won't be doing that much damage. So that's an ability that's really dependent on your other characters as well. The Bluebeard is a dwarf that has obviously seen some battles in his lifetime. He has a claw hand and is missing an eye. Now, if you see here, he has high defense and wisdom, so he can take a lot of hits, but his skill is Slashing Blade, deal attack-based damage to all foes. Since he doesn't have high attack, he has high defense and wisdom, I personally don't think that the skill is very powerful. If he had high attack, this would be a good skill, but personally I would stay away from the Bluebeard. I haven't seen many people use him, and I'm guessing it's for that reason. The Grey Mage is a goblin, and he does a lot of damage. He has high wisdom and agility, meaning that he can attack quickly, most likely first, and since he has high wisdom, his ability, Fire Strike, can do a lot of damage. Fire Strike is also a one-hit knockout ability, seeing that it does a lot of damage. And the fact that he has high agility means that most of the time he can attack first, quickly knock out one of the enemies, and you have an advantage. Now, the Purple Knife used to be one of the weakest warlords, but has recently been given a huge boost. She used to be able to use Bind, which all it did was paralyze a foe for a turn, but now she has an ability called Thundercloud. And what Thundercloud does, and unfortunately they don't have it updated here, what Thundercloud does is it attacks 3 different enemies on the board, on the screen, sorry, and it does have a chance to bind, but mostly it does a devastating attack. At high levels, she can pretty much take out half the hit points of 3 different guys, and also the paralyzing is pretty useful. She has high attack and wisdom, meaning that her ability does a lot of damage, and when her ability does not trigger, she still does a pretty good attack. Now, the last one is the Green Healer. She's an elf, and I think that personally she's not exactly the best choice, seeing that she just has high wisdom and defense, meaning that she has good ability and she can take a lot of hits, but she restores a fixed amount of HP to all party members. The reason why I don't think that this is pretty spectacular is because there are other familiars that do the exact same thing. Of course, almost every single warlord has an ability that is shared by other familiars, but you can easily replace this with somebody else. Personally, I think that it would be best to choose an attack-based warlord. So based on all of this information, I think that the best warlords of choice are the Purple Knife, the Grey Mage, the Black Brute, sorry, tongue twister there, and the Golden Lance. Those are my personal choices, and if I had to choose just one, I would have to say the Purple Knife, because she is absolutely a force to be reckoned with, and whenever I face off against her and her abilities go off, it's painful. Now, another thing that you need to know about Blood Brothers is the fact that there is a bazaar system, but unlike Rage of Bahamut that severely limits you to buying and selling, you are allowed to sell 5 things a day, but you can buy as many things as you want. This is pretty cool because if you have a lot of stuff to spend, a lot of items, you can get what you want. But there's one thing that you have to know before you begin using the bazaar, and that's all about the different levels of familiars. As you can see, there's common, uncommon, rare, epic, and legendary. You most likely will never get a legendary in your lifetime just because it's so hard and you pretty much have to be a pay-to-win player in order to get one from an event. Now, meanwhile, your main source of very good familiars are going to be rares, and there's something that you need to know about rares. There are different kinds of rares, and let me bring up Bago Red Drake for you. As you can see from here, he is a 2-stage rare, meaning that he has 2 evolutions. If I was to get another Bago Red Drake, I could evolve them together and get the evolved form. Now, every time that you add another star and do another evolution, it will stay the same. Now, on the other hand, if you have a 4 evolution character, such as Zenobia Subjugator, or Zenobia, I don't really know how to say that, you can see that she has 4 stars here, meaning that she has 4 evolutions. Now, if I evolved her one more time, she would become a 2 evolution, still be a rare, but the 3rd and 4th, she would turn into an epic. Now, the reason why this is important is because an epic can be leveled more, meaning that you have more stats. So, in other words, it is very much different to have a 4-stage rare than a 2-stage rare. 4-stage rares tend to be a lot better because they turn into epics, and also they you can have them have higher stats because of the different evolution methods you can use. You could use, 8 first evolutions, make 4 second evolutions, then do the second evolutions together, make 2 3 evolutions, then do the third evolution together to make the final evolution, meaning you have a very, very, very powerful evolution. So in other words, you could soup up your familiar. It's complicated, but in general, those are worth more. Now, when looking on the bazaar, you have to take this into account, because if you are selling something that is a 2-stage rare, it most likely will be worth a lot less than a 4-stage epic, rare, whatever. On the other hand, you have to look out because certain familiars are worth more than others. For instance, Gizlandi, the Iron Wall, is probably one of the most sought after 4-stage rares, seeing that it has the ability Berserk, which deals damage to 6 random targets. You definitely don't want to give this away for something stupid, like a dream-eating tapir. But yeah, there's a lot of familiars. It's very hard to familiarize yourself with the different prices, but thankfully the bazaar has a view history feature which allows you to see what it has sold for in the past. The main currency that's used for selling tends to be bugles, because bugles are used in many different events. 2 out of 3 events require bugles, which restores your morale and allows you to participate in PvP events or boss events. Now, something like Gizlandi here will be worth a whole lot, but let me show you Dream Eating Tapir, which really isn't worth that much because of its skill. Usually the worth of a familiar is based on the skill. Now, I'm trying to look up. Here we go. Dream Eating Tapir. And as you can see, it has an ability called Speed Sap, which really isn't that impressive. It only lowers the agility of 3 foes. So this, I usually find it for about 15 bugles, which really isn't that much. Meanwhile, something like, let me look up something that's worth a lot. Cat Sid, I think it's Sid Hay, something like that. You can get those for a lot of bugles. Usually they go for maybe 60 bugles. That's kind of an estimate, but as you see, this is worth a lot more because it has Rush, deal agility-based damage to 6 random targets, which is basically the agility version of Berserk. So you kind of have to look at the abilities to really gain a sense of which is worth more. Also, as I said, 4-stage rares are worth more than 2-stage rares, with some exceptions, however. One thing to look out for is, let me quickly look this up. I can find this right. There we go. Okuni Dancer. This is one rare, that's 2-stage rare that you really need to look out for. Unfortunately, there is no image, but there is one that looks very similar that I can show you. And that is Kojiro Yojimbo. What the dancer looks like is pretty much the exact same thing, except she's holding fans. And that is the most sought after two-stage rare, in my own opinion. You could sell it for a whole lot. So, don't accidentally sell a dancer thinking that, okay, it's a two-stage rare, it might not be worth a lot. Pretty much your best bet is to look at the history and see what things have sold for to get a good idea of how much something is worth. Of course, if something sells for 40 bugles and then for 5 bugles, you know that 40 bugles is most likely the more accurate price, and the 5 bugles was somebody putting something up because they didn't know the price. So that's definitely something to look out for, but seeing that you can buy an unlimited amount a day is pretty nice because you can build up your arsenal, and if you do want to make some items, increase your currency amount, you can search for rares, first stage rares, and potentially snipe some very good deals because they show up in order of most recently added. So, that's basically it. One other thing that you need to know is about coins. So, as you go through the map, you can pick up coins, and some of them are found in chests. Some of them are found in the chests that you can't open until you complete a map. But basically what these coins do is allows you to pull a coin pack. Kind of like how in Rage of Bahamut you can pull a card pack. And coins are very plentiful. So the copper coin, I'd say, is equivalent to a friendship pack. You do have a chance of getting something very rare. It's a small amount. And then there's a silver coin, which is worth a little bit more in the sense that you can get more uncommons and more rares. And occasionally you can get an epic from either one. So, in that sense, I find this game a lot more fair than Rage of Bahamut because you don't have to pay. You can get epics, you can get rares from simply just pulling some coin packs. And there are paid coin packs, but honestly, I would rather skip those and wait for an event that gives me free rares. Just by participating, you can get rares in certain events, especially events that are boss events, where everybody works together to take down a boss. So, this game, personally, one of my favorites. If you're looking for a new game to replace Rage of Bahamut, this is definitely a good choice. And seeing that there's always something new, especially new events every week, there's always something to do in this game. So, until next time, please check it out, and hopefully I'll have more videos for you soon.